Hi friends, welcome back to the Accent Designer. I'm Osama Gazal, and in this video I'm going to be continuing the series that I started a couple weeks ago about preparing for product design and UX interviews. So without any further ado, let's get into it. You schedule your interview with the hiring manager, congratulations. You're probably going to spend most of your time preparing the projects you're walking them through or you plan to walk them through, and try to prepare as many questions as possible that you're expecting them to ask you. And that's actually great. But don't really get lost in this, and remember that at the end of the interview, you also have to prepare a set of questions to ask the hiring or the design manager and show them that you're really curious about the company and the role. And if you were to take my advice or my opinion on it, if you're not interested in the company or the product, believe me, it's not worth it. And I'm not saying that out of any cringe-worthy speeches or influence or being influenced by social media or anything like that, but believe me, I tried that. I've been freelancing. Like when I started product design and UX design, I was freelancing, and in order to make it and just pay the bills, I worked on tons of projects and products that I'm not really passionate about. And even though some of them ended being a good success, but I will never go back and work on something similar again. So when you say, like, I totally understand the struggle, especially if you're in the beginning and you're just trying to make it into the product design landscape and just build up a name for yourself. You're trying to get into any available role, right? I can't really say that this is wrong, and I'm not here to say that's right or wrong at all. Just my genuine advice. If you're interested in a specific industry and niche product, you name it, try to double down on this and just make it your goal to get in there. You need to prepare a set of questions at the end of the interview in order to understand more about the role and the projects the team you're joining is working on, and what are their expectations of you or any new candidate. Number one, this question I actually ask in any interview phase, whether I'm talking to a recruiter, HR coordinator, or like a hiring manager. I always ask this question because it doesn't really matter what kind of role or department they work in. It's very relevant for everyone. And the question is, how do you evaluate or measure success of any new candidate during the first 3 to 6 months? Very simple. And the reason of asking this question is just to understand more about the culture of the company based on how they identify success. So one of the things I personally disagree with a little bit, if the answer or the people, the company interviewing you identify success by achieving or accomplishing immediate impact, that's a low-key red flag in a sense, because when you join a new product or a new team or a new project, there must be some sort of learning curve. It's inevitable. Like whether you're expert at what you're doing or not, there must be at least 1 to 2 weeks for you to get along with the team, understand the ins and outs of the process, and at least just get familiar with how they standardize things on the platform. Even if they're using the same software that you're very familiar with, like Jira, Figma, Notion, you name it, I'm 100% sure there is a different way of building the conventions, like how they identify the start and ending points of every process, who's in charge of what, who are the stakeholders, who you need to reach out to if you came across any obstacle or difficulty. There are just a lot of things that require some sense of self-initiating and just like trying to integrate and embed yourself in the community in order to stand on your feet and actually achieve something or make an impact. So identifying success, one of the best ways to phrase this question, as opposed to directly asking them, how do you identify the culture of your team or your company? It's kind of senseless to ask a question like that, to be honest, because it sounds very scripted and doesn't really connect with the interviewer or the person on the other end of the call. The second question, and this one I like mostly keep for the hiring manager, if like I'm interviewing with somebody who manages a team. So I try to ask him straight up, how do you manage your team? Can you describe, walk me through a typical week with your team? How do you manage things? How do you distribute work? distribute the workload. And the reason I ask this question is I'm trying to understand whether the person or the underlying theme of this company is micromanaging or more of a flexible relationship that relies mostly on like trust or confidence or communication. So this question really helps me understand how they think and how they want to oversee things. Or if I'm the one being hired for a hiring like a managerial position, in this case, I try to understand how they expect me to manage the people I'm going to be working with. The following question, I also keep this question for somebody who has been around in the company for a while, and it helps me really understand the overall environment and vibe of the company. So I asked them, can you describe the turnover rates on your team? And this question, it takes a lot of people off guard for some reason, because as simple as it sounds, I kind of got a sense over a couple times, over like a number of times, asking this question over and over to different hiring managers in different companies. It sounds like they are not ready to answer this question. In their head, they might be confused that they just gave up information. It might cast any sort of legal liability against them. But some people are very articulate and know how to communicate the answer I'm looking for without necessarily uncovering any explicit information about the team or about the company. So asking this question, in my opinion, is very important because at the end of the day, I don't want to join a new team or a new company and start panicking, after a month and considering just leaving the company. It doesn't make any sense. It's such a waste of time. Question number 4, what kind of impact the design team has on the OKR? There is like a sheet every company owns that identifies the roles of every team and every team member, and also identify the roadmap of a new product or project. And to me, it's very important to understand to what extent the design team can make an input on this sheet. Because if there is room for designers to contribute to the sheet and depict the roadmap of the company, it means that this company really value design and designers and understand the underlying capabilities and responsibilities of their job. The following question is very technical, and I doubt anyone can answer except for the people who are directly going to be working with you or the design manager you're directly going to be reporting to. And it's about understanding managing the collaboration process between the designers and developer. So I ask the following question and say, describe the ground rule you guys have to collaborate with the developers and engineers, and how do you manage this process? Is there like something you run like design critique every week where you just bring everyone to the table and try to discuss all the projects you have? This is, in my opinion, one of the best practices. I currently have this practice at my current company, the Globe and Mail. We sync up with the developers on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis if we don't have a new thing to talk about, in order to regroup and discuss if there is any sort of technical constraints that emerge in the process and require any sort of adjustments. That's pretty much about it for today. I tried to keep this video concise as possible, and hopefully you guys find it beneficial. So if you guys like this series, just talking about more tips and advice for product design interview preparation, please leave a comment down below. Thank you so much guys for tuning in, and see you next time.